Hey guys, how's it going? Muthurajah here, back with a new video lesson for y'all. Before I get to the actual lesson, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, or if this is your first time on here. I'm looking at the analytics every day, alright, so I know like 60% of you aren't subscribed, so that's quite a number of you. So subscribe to the channel, check out the perks on the membership platform, or different ways you can support the channel. Whatever and however you support me, it enables me to create content, and it enables me to also just have the ability to make a living out of this. All right. So I have been in a bit of a headspace lately where I'm kind of not contemplating, but rather reflecting on a lot of things from the past where I was just thinking about certain things that put me on a certain path overall. And there was one thing that really got to me, and that's why I wanted to talk about on this video. So I've spoken about enclosures and target tones quite a bit in the past, like the very early years of the channel, 4 or 5 years ago, I would say. And I kind of want to touch base on that again, but I want to get a little more specific, okay? So years ago, when I was living in Malaysia, I used to work with a veteran piano player, Michael Veerapan. So he really helped me see a lot of things, but this one thing really just changed everything for me, because it put a lot of things into perspective and very focused too. And Mike's a great educator too, so he really instilled these principles into me. And what I loved about it at the time was that he literally just took a manuscript from me. I still have it, by the way. I need to dig it up. And he wrote it out in notation, and then he made me do it then and there. He didn't give me time to absorb it. So I was really put on the spot, because I could understand the concept and logic, but to put it to work was difficult. Okay, so a lot of you might have heard phrases like this, or or right, these kind of phrases. So I would always hear Mike play those lines, and they just started so perfectly, resolved so well. And then here I was, I just worked on my enclosure, so I was just like, okay. Okay, I'm playing over the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves. So that was where I was, right? So what you just heard was me enclosing the third of every chord. Except on the G minor, I enclosed the 6 for a minor 6 sound. Okay, so what Michael basically did was he wrote out the phrase in terms of the pickup, the actual measure that we're playing over, and the resolution. So it helped me see things in threes. What I mean by that is the starting point, the middle, and then the finishing point. So phrasing for me has always been in a 3-part. Okay, for those of you who have studied with me privately, you might have heard me say this a lot, because that's something I teach. It's a 3-part motion. If I went the natural inclination is to sing or play the third note to finish what you start. If you sing one note, it's like, okay. If I go again, a third note will kind of seal it, right? So the idea is simple. We are enclosing the 5th of a minor triad here. Okay, so C minor. So we are playing 2 chromatic below and above, starting with the below. Okay, now, yes, the order of those chromatic notes do have an influence on the way it sounds. If I went above and then below, has a particular sound. Okay, I prefer below and above, and by that I mean, so you are trying to literally enclose. So you start with the lowest note of the 2 chromatics, and then the highest note of the top 2 chromatics, and then the chromatic down into the actual target tone, and then a C minor triad. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so that phrase is 4 beats long, starting on beat 3 and finishes on the N of beat 2 of the second measure. Now, to kind of cap things off, you can go. Okay, so I'm chromatically enclosing the third of F. Okay, but instead of playing the same enclosure again, which by the way will be quite annoying to get right, let me show you what I mean. We don't want to do that. So we don't want to copy paste the same enclosure. However, we use the two chromatic above the third of F, the A, and then we just tag it on this G. Sometimes you would hear guys do that a lot. Or you can move both of them chromatically. Or so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Resolve. Okay, so the entirety of my phrase, okay, the pickup bar before C minor 7 on beat 3, I start and I finish on beat 1 2 bars later, or a bar and a half, technically speaking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now all I want you to do is copy paste this template on the other sets of chords. C minor to F, B flat major to E flat major, A half diminished to D7, G minor to G minor 6. Okay, now without the talking, you can reference the PDF, but I'm just going to play it once without speaking. Now in a more swung context, 1, 2. Or okay, now a different variation of this is where you can play the enclosure to the triad, and then you just enclose the C, 1 below, 2 chromatic above, 1 below to C. So you're resolving on the 5th of the chord now instead of the 3rd. And then here you're resolving on the root of the G minor. Okay, so this thing, it really just opened up everything for me, because I not only am working with chord tones and enclosures, chromatic enclosures, but I know how to rhythmically place them. So if I want to change things from a rhythmic aspect, I can do that. However, this is the foundation that I established first. So based off of this, like, I've gone to like play stuff like So eventually, after a certain point, I was able to sort of modernize this sound, the whole world of playing enclosures and triads. And one thing you might hear me do a lot, I'm exposing myself right now by doing this, is where if I have an altered dominant or a sharp 9 flat 13 kind of sound, I would play E flat melodic minor, even just the scale. But sometimes I would just enclose. So the enclosures are kind of a part of how I actually improvise. However, it's not something I'm consciously, constantly thinking about. It is a mere device that I have learned to actually control and develop more into other things. So this really created a paradigm shift for me, and I hope it does the same for you, because it gives you good context with regards to how you actually phrase, how you actually build these ideas in that language of bebop and bop and that kind of a sound, and how idiomatically speaking you can change this into other things, which I can probably talk about in multiple videos. All right, I hope you get something out of this. Once again, the PDF is in the description down below, so be sure to download it. All right, I'll see you guys in the shed until the next one. Peace.